Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and today's video is a little bit different for you all. As you can tell, if you're familiar with the area, I'm in between Bluefield and Princeton on Route 460, and this area just up ahead was called the Gap in the Ridge. I've never not known this area to not be called the Gap in the Ridge, but before 460 was in this area, there was a business here, and it was a supermarket. It was a little grocery store. It was called Grant's. Now, are you all familiar with Grant's Supermarket? You should be if you're from this area. It's grown into at least 20 grocery stores. But we're going to talk about the history of Grant's and Randall Grant specifically, and give you some information you maybe didn't know. Since I'm in this area, I was born in this area. I know this area very well, so I have a little bit of history of my own that I've known. But then I also have a lot of history that I picked up from Randall Grant himself. So let's talk about Grant's Supermarket. So this area right here was where the Grant's grocery store was, and in fact it even expanded right here in the 1960s. But by 1973, the West Virginia roads had to purchase this property from the Grants to make Route 460 right here. So that was the end of the supermarket that was right here at the Gap of the Ridge. West Virginia roads paid $125,000 for this plot of land right here and where this business was. And that's when, in 1973, they purchased the building down in Green Valley where Grant's is located today. Now, that building has not always been Grant's. Of course, in 73 it started off as Grant's, but later on it was sold to Wyatt's, and then it became Grant's again. But more on that later. Right now, we're going to be taking a left down Mercer Mall Road and taking a left down Bulltail. I have done several videos of Bulltail Hollow. It's basically where I was born and raised, and I know the area very well. But this is where Randall Grant grew up. This is where his family had his house. He used to play in the creek, just up ahead over on the right. So I'm going to be doing a turn in the first curve, basically, just to show you a generalized area of where Randall Grant grew up. Randall was born on November 8th, 1942, and he was the son to Cora Grant and Willie Randall Grant. Just up ahead, we'll be making this little turn, and I could show you a little bit more of the property or the area that he grew up in. Right here in this curve is where I'm going to turn and point. I don't want to pull up in people's driveways or different things, so I'm just kind of generally pointing towards the area that he grew up. Of course, you could see the creek right here going underneath the road, and that was the creek that he used to play in. Way back there and behind the trees is a house, and there's a slaughter pen back there. It still stands. That was his dad's slaughter pen. And then there was a dairy farm also. It would basically have been more on the ridge there where the Mercer Mall was. But see the gray house back in there? That's the area where he lived and grew up, the Grant family. Of course, Randall had 4 siblings too. They were a little bit older. Now his dad, Willie, was the one that opened the Grant's Supermarket, or the Grant's Grocery, there at the Gap of the Ridge. And Randall Grant came to work for him in 1965. The original cinder block building, which was the first Grant's opened by his dad, was opened in 1948. So we've talked about the Gap of the Ridge. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Grants in Green Valley, since that's the direction we're heading now. Like I said, it opened in October of 1973, but by July of 1974, Randall Grant was getting out of the grocery business. He wanted to explore other opportunities for business, and his dad was leaving the grocery business due to cancer. So that was when that property became Wyatt's. And I remember it as Wyatt's growing up as a kid. Leo Wyatt was the one that had purchased the property. During this time, Randall did a few different things. He got his real estate license, a broker and auctioneer license. He joined up with Jerry Cruz and opened a little giant convenience store in Green Valley. He also then at some point did purchase Surface Banana from John Surface. And then he ended up going back into the grocery business with developing a relationship with Jerry Patrick and opening the TNT supermarket in the Blueprints Plaza. He did sell out to Jerry Patrick, and that is when Randall Grant bought the store located at 315 Bluefield Avenue on October of 1982. And that is the Grant Supermarket in Bluefield on the avenue. It's the most famous location for Grant's, and unfortunately I'm not showing it in this video because there was too much happening with his life down here in Green Valley. But it is his most well-known store. It's where he got his start back into the Grant's supermarket. Throughout the years, Randall owned stores located in Bluefield, Virginia when he partnered up with Jerry Rossi and on North Street in the city limits of Bluefield. And then he came to purchase back the property that was in foreclosure. The Wyatts that had opened up here in Green Valley, he was able to purchase it again back in January of 1990 and did an expansion on the storefront in 2002. In 2003, an opportunity presented itself for a grocery store in a vacant building in Durand, Virginia. And this is when Randall Grant joined up with Ron Martin and Ronnie Cruey and started this business venture. And they opened up in July of 2003, the Grants in Durand, Virginia. And then they opened another one in North Tazewell, Virginia in 2005. And then an opportunity presented itself for another store in Princeton, and it was opened up shortly after in 2006. In 2007, Randall Grant sold the Bluefield Avenue location to the partnership, making it 4 stores, 4 Grant supermarkets, and continued on. Basically, there are tons of them. I think there's up to almost 20 Grant supermarkets in the area now. And that basically covers my talk today and my drive talking about Grant Supermarket. I hope you've enjoyed this different type of video. So this is Angie from Tourangie.com. Come to my website, read my blogs, and make appointments so I can help you plan your next travel adventure. And if there's any place in the area that you would like to have recorded or your history talked about, give me a yell.